We'll jump into today's episode right after this announcement. For over 13 years, something remarkable has been happening. Rural hospitals and other small healthcare organizations that have partnered with Capstone have been achieving results and forming workplace cultures that even we are blown away by. It is truly a game changer when rural hospitals are the provider of choice and employer of choice so they can keep care local and margins strong. Far more healthcare organizations need to experience what's possible. That's why we're stepping forward in a bigger way, expanding our team of experts, expanding our capabilities by adding a strategic planning division to expand our ability to help even more rural hospitals and other healthcare organizations in 2026 and beyond. Capstone will continue to be the partner that small healthcare organizations can count on to meet them where they're at and guide them towards a stronger future. You can learn more at capstoneleadership.net. It seems like an impossible feat to be able to be an organization that is in constant change and also be an organization where our workforce is thriving and they are able to be agile and resilient during times of change. And they actually might be really looking forward to change, wanting change, helpful in change, and not resistant to it because, they know that on the other side of it, they'll be well and something in their organization will be better.
Welcome to Culture Change RX, the podcast for healthcare professionals that are committed to creating a thriving workplace culture, improving the experiences of employees and patients, and ultimately unlocking their organization's next level of potential. I'm Sue Tetzlaff, your host and co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. Join me and my insightful guests each week as we share actionable insights for navigating the crucial people side of the business of healthcare. Subscribe now for a weekly dose of Culture Change RX. Now let's dive into this week's conversation where culture change takes center stage.
Thanks for being here for another episode of Culture Change RX. It is me, Sue Tetzlaff, co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions and the host of Culture Change RX. Oh, I applaud healthcare organizations, especially small and rural ones, that are investing more than ever, maybe, in workforce well-being. Things like resilience training, stress reduction, quiet rooms, mental health resources, appreciation events, and the like. Yet, it just still shocks me that many employees are more exhausted than ever. And why is that? Let's ponder that question today. Why is that when we care so much about our workforce, we're investing in their well-being? So I'd like to propose today a thought on this, a hypothesis, one that I've seen enough to believe that it's true. And so working now with dozens of healthcare organizations, small and rural ones, all across the country, we start to see patterns, right? We start to see things that, we see that again, and we see that again, and we see that again. And we can decide, hey, let's not react to it, but let's get proactive about it. Let's be preventative about it. And so what we're seeing is something that is labeled change fatigue, right? The very way change is being led is creating the stress that leaders are actually, in many ways, trying to solve in their workforce. And there is this cycle that I see far too often. Organizations unintentionally harming well-being through poorly led change, and then trying to make up for it or react to it afterwards. So change fatigue isn't just about too much change. It's about poorly led change. The goal or the solution isn't actually fewer changes. It's about better led changes. When leaders don't lead change well, there are actually quite predictable consequences. And those consequences of change done poorly is that your people may be paying the cost. So it might look something like this. We launch and implement a poorly planned and poorly executed change in the workplace. And then during that, we create or escalate change fatigue in the workforce. And then after that, we recognize that, we see signs and symptoms of that. We then go into reactive mode to launch well-being initiatives as an attempt to repair those negative impacts. All the while, we're just continuing in this cycle, right? So well-being can't be something we deploy after the damage. It must be something we protect during the change. So your workforce should not have to recover from your strategy and the execution of it. So in our work at Capstone Leadership Solutions with dozens of small and rural healthcare organizations all around the country, one of the things that we help the organization be able to adopt and make it theirs and make it better is something that we call the 9 core leadership practices of having a model that guides the work of leaders. And 2 of those 9 core leadership practices are actually leading change and promoting well-being. So these are core leadership practices. They are both part of the core leadership model, and they are both always happening and ongoing. They aren't episodic or isolated or start-stop initiatives. It's something that leaders learn to master and continuously be able to practice, leading change well, promoting well-being well, and doing that consistently and in parallel. So this helps leaders and entire organizations move from being reactive to really being proactive in their leadership. And so we see things like instead of pushing changes, they're actually leading an organization that is becoming more agile, that is always ready to evolve and improve. And at the same time, leaders aren't reacting to workforce stress, they're continuously preventing it. And I think that in healthcare organizations, when it comes to the 2 different leadership practices that I'm talking about here today and emphasizing here today, leading change and promoting well-being, as healthcare organizations, we probably have a lot of knowledge and ability internally to be able to know what to do to promote well-being. So we can really rely on a lot of internal expertise and resources to leverage for the well-being of our workforce because darn, we're healthcare providers, right? We have a mission to improve health for our community and we can do that for our workforce. But when it comes to leading change, this is where a lot of organizations, big and small in healthcare struggle is how do we lead change in such a way that it's successful and that it doesn't burn out or overstress or overtax our workforce with change fatigue. So leading change is an area in particular where we find that entire organizations need a lot of expert help to be able to be more successful, to create change in such a way that we get the results that we want to create from the change. And at the same time, we're not fatiguing and or adding stress, burning out our workforce beyond what might be just, really normal or expected when humans and groups of humans are navigating a change process. So really, I'm hoping to deliver today a respectful but firm leadership truth. If your workplace is exhausted, don't just ask how to support them. Ask what leadership actions or inactions are contributing to that exhaustion. And in particular, are we changing in ways that is not done well and is contributing to the detriment of the well-being of our workforce and the burnout and stress that just is part of even the day-to-day operations? So if we add the stress of change to the stress of day-to-day operations, that just might be the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? But, the reality is change is constant. So just like day-to-day operations, we can't stop them and pause them. We have to keep day-to-day operations going. And our people are part and parcel to day-to-day operations. being constantly, there for our community. And so we can't pause operations. So we think, well, maybe we have to pause change, but truly change, evolvement, growth, improvement of our organization, that is constant too. We can't really minimize that. We can't stop that. We're not in an industry where improving and growing is something that we can just stop. So even though change is constant, stress and suffering from it doesn't have to be. So are we leading change in a way that doesn't over fatigue our people? Do we know how to lead change successfully and sustainably in such a way that it isn't overtaxing? Otherwise, we're likely unintentionally draining our team, draining our individual staff members. The healthiest organizations aren't the ones that avoid change or just episodically focus on well being or resilience after a change to recover from it. Likely the ones that are going to thrive well into the future are the ones that lead change and well being in ways that strengthen their people while achieving the intended positive results of change. I am an and person. I'm one of those people where I want it all, right? I want and, not either or. I don't want successful change or a well workforce. I want successful change and a well workforce. And so we need to get competent as organizations at both leading change and promoting well being. And when it comes to leading change, in that body of work that we've been able to uncover through the patterns of watching organizations actually serving as the strategists, coaches, and trainers to organizations that are intentionally embarking upon big, multifaceted change initiatives, transformational change where multiple things are changing all at once. This is obviously a very crucial aspect of our work with them, is to help them create not just, one change initiative that's successful, but many. And so we can't do that at the expense of the workforce, especially when the changes that they're embarking upon really are to be the employer and provider of choice to keep care local and margins strong. So this is, again, that and thing. We want both. We want to be the provider of choice, and that's going to take changes in our quality and our service and our processes and maybe our technology and things like that. So it's going to take change to be the provider of choice. And at the same time, and we want to be the employer of choice. So that means making sure that we are not taxing our people, fatiguing our people, stressing and burning out our people to get those results that we are, working for, that strategy we're working for towards positive change, to be that provider of choice, again, to keep care local and margins strong. So in this body of work, because it's so important to our partnerships with the healthcare organizations that we're guiding, we have to be able to bring to them, to their teams, to their leaders, actual solutions that help them be able to lead change well. And one of the things that actually seven of the things that we've been able to identify is 7 common change barriers or challenges that can trip organizations up as they pursue change, pursue improvement, pursue growth. Anytime we want to change anything, whether that's quality or service or volumes, we are creating change. Every time we're pursuing a new protocol, a new process, new technology, we're leading change. And so what we've been able to uncover, again, working with dozens of organizations, is these patterns of 7 common change barriers. Change fatigue is a change barrier, because if that change barrier, change fatigue, keeps building up and building up, because that cycle is happening where we keep changing ineffectively and it's overtaxing on the workforce, over time, that is going to be a barrier to each new change that the organization attempts to embark on, right? So it's going to limit the organization's agility or ability to pursue each future change when change fatigue is present and escalating. So that is one of the 7 common barriers to change, but there are 6 others. And so for teams that are leading change, individual leaders or groups of leaders that are leading change initiatives, making sure that they are equipped with the knowledge about how to change well and what can get in the way and how to be proactive and preventative of that will start to, one, help the change initiatives go faster, quicker, easier without so much angst and overwhelm. But also, that barrier of change fatigue will be minimized or even eliminated, and certainly not be escalating to the point that our workforce is, again, getting exhausted from the demands of day to day operations, plus the demands of ongoing change. So, we need to create an environment where both of these things, leading change and promoting well being, are top priorities in the organization. That really does speak to an organization that is employer of choice and on the pathway and well equipped to be the provider of choice. So think about in your own organization, are you leading change in a way that doesn't over fatigue your people? Are you leading change in such a way that you're getting the intended results? Positive results that you're targeting from the change, whether it's a technology change, a process change, etc. Are you able to succeed in such a way that it is successful in getting the intended positive result without creating collateral damage in your workforce along the way? So here I am today. It might seem like throw up your hands. It seems like an impossible feat to be able to be an organization that is in constant change and also be an organization where our workforce is thriving and they are able to be agile and resilient during times of change. And they actually might be really looking forward to change, wanting change, helpful in change, and not resistant to it because they know that on the other side of it, they'll be well and something in their organization will be better. So that's what we're shooting for. And it might seem like a dream, it might seem like pie in the sky, but if we don't pursue it, if we don't as an organization figure this out, it could be our long-term downfall, right? It may not be an instant, it might not be something that happens overnight, but it is something that will compound over time. And it might be one of those slow fades that is, really the root cause of the organization's decline or downfall. If an organization is not agile and cannot change well and effectively and successfully, and if its workforce is overstressed and that's just escalating to burnout and turnover and hard to recruit, etc. This is the recipe for an organization that is moving in the wrong direction. And so turning that around for some organizations, they just don't know how it's possible. But fortunately, with the dozens of healthcare organizations we've just been so privileged to support, we've been able to help them be able to figure this out and to, again, be an organization that can promote well being at the same time that they are constantly in change because they're leading change well. And that's what we want for your organization too. And if you need help with that, it might be time for your organization to reach out for help. You don't have to figure it out on your own. You could, but it just might take you much longer and you might get it wrong way too many times before you figure out how to get it right. And there might be a lot of collateral damage in that period of time of trying to figure it out. And so at Capstone, these are the things that we help our partners do, is to shorten that time frame to being able to have solutions that are proven, practical, doable, that actually work in small and rural healthcare. And things like practices of leading change and promoting well-being are two of them that our partners are able to figure out how to master, get the results of mastering it much quicker because they got outside help from an expert in small and rural healthcare like Capstone Leadership Solutions. And so we love being that kind of partner to rural healthcare organizations. It is what gets our team up every single day to do this work. Their passion for small and rural healthcare, its success well into the future drives them. And so, not surprisingly, our team has had to become experts in helping entire organizations learn how to lead change well, be successful at it, while at the same time promoting well-being and strengthening their workforce in that way so that they can be a more agile and well organization. So if you're needing help with that, I encourage you to reach out to us at Capstone Leadership. Our website, capstoneleadership.net, has a contact us page. You can go there, schedule a call with us. And so we have a series of free complimentary calls where we can help understand what's going on in your organization, provide some recommendations to your organization. And then if you want to engage in official services and help from us, that's certainly, something that we'd be glad to talk through with you. But it really is free, and it is really often very helpful. Some of the best time executives can spend time talking to experts about what's going on in their organization and what's working elsewhere and what might specifically work for them. So again, capstoneleadership.net, and reach out to us on the contact us page, and we'd be glad to engage with conversations with your organization. And a parting or point of emphasis is, really change is inevitable. It is constant, but burnout, stress, change fatigue, suffering, shouldn't be inevitable. We can have an organization that is agile, changes successfully and well, and have a workforce that is also well. And we very much want to be a partner to organizations in pursuit of just that.
Thanks for tuning in to Culture Change RX. If you found value in today's episode and you are a believer in fostering change in healthcare, join us in making a difference. Follow, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with colleagues and your network. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Until next week, keep inspiring positive change.